Hello and welcome back to the channel, folks. This is your boy StoicWarrior, and for today's video is another video from World of Tanks Blitz. For today's video we will be discussing the core role of a tank destroyer and what it means to play in a tank destroyer. Whether you are using a Jagdpanzer, a Death Star, OBJ-263, the Doom Turtle, or Grille, and the list goes on, all tank destroyers have a common role that if played to the core can help the team to steamroll through any opponent. So, let's get on with the show, folks. The role of a tank destroyer at its core is that it is a sniper, and a sniper is supposed to provide covering fire. And what it means is that the tank destroyer is supposed to stay behind the allied tanks in order to provide covering fire whilst it remains undetected. And in order to remain undetected, it needs to conceal itself in a good position where it can get shots, provide damage, provide covering fire wherever it is needed. Now, as you can see, Toto is actually taking an elevated position. Advantages of an elevated position is that, especially with the tank destroyer, is that you have better line of sight at the opponents. Better line of sight of opponents mean more opportunities for a tank destroyer to provide support. As you can see, the T-57 and E-100, both of those tanks are clearly visible, clearly in the line of sight and easy to target. And a tank destroyer is supposed to stay well behind enough so as to not get detected, because once a tank destroyer is detected, the support fire, covering fire, it's over. That's the main thing. And for example, as long as you don't know where the opponent's tank destroyers are located, you cannot actually successfully have a good push, because you don't know where they're going to be shooting you at. And in order to best utilize the strengths of your own tank destroyers, the main role comes from either the heavy tanks or the medium tanks. The heavy tanks are supposed to stay at the front line, not to push too hard so as to push the enemy back so that the tank destroyers can't even hit them, but to hold the line far enough. Now look over here. As I said, Toto kept himself in a good position to both cover A and C. Right now he's covering A ramp. Now as you can see, the T-62A, it was approximately 260 meters away. Now on average, a medium tank has a spotting range of 250 meters, depends on the masteries and whatnot, and provisions and whatnot, but on average it's 250 meters. When it was at 260 meters, that means Toto was well visually concealed and was able to provide good covering fire to the E-100. Now, Toto has dealt an approximately of 4k damage and has not yet been spotted, and that is troublesome for the enemy team. That is really troublesome for the enemy team. Why? Because they don't know where that 150mm 600 plus alpha damage gun is shooting from, and when they don't know that, they don't know how to successfully have a good push. And yes, when it comes to that, empty, as we were talking before, the role for the heavy tanks is to hold the line so as the enemy comes for the push. And when the enemy comes for the push, that's when your tank destroyers get the opportunity, because now they've come towards you and they are now more in visual line of fire for your tank destroyers. That's when they can provide you the most optimal support. And for the MTs, it is to spot the enemy tanks, and once again, not to push too hard or rash unless and until you know it's a good time to push. Never push too. I've seen a lot of players make this mistake. They push either too hard, too rash, without taking into account where their tank destroyers are located. As you had seen from this game, in the entire game, Toto managed to deal 5200 hit points, damage points, and did not get spotted during the entire game. Yes, he did not manage to get kills, but once again, if you look at the score screen, the second highest chieftain was at 3k damage, had 3k damage, but it's still quite a huge margin when comparison to Toto. Why? Because he utilized his tank destroyer in the most efficient way possible. He stayed in an elevated position. He kept himself concealed well away from the spotting range of the enemy tanks, and also the heavy tanks, they did not push too harshly. Now, all right. So let's look at the next game and see how well a tank destroyer can do support and how it is supposed to perform. Alright, let's get to the next clip. Now in the second game, as you can see, once again Toto, he's taking up an elevated position. Yes, there's not many elevated positions around here, but he's actually way behind his allied tanks. And with a tank destroyer like Grille, which has really good elevation angles, he managed to tilt up his chassis a bit from the backside and utilizing his great elevation. And once again, he's actually pretty far away for the enemy team to actually spot him. Therefore, able to provide very good supporting fire. And the only way the enemy is actually going to spot him is if one of the enemy tanks decides to swoop around this area in order to check. But that's a big if they do decide. Now in this game, you'll see that the enemy tanks they're trying to push, as the AMX tried to push from around the canyon, but due to the excellent positioning of Toto, he managed to take the shot. And once again, now look at this. He can actually see on the opposite corner of the map where the enemy tank destroyers are situated. And as soon as they got spotted, he managed to take a shot at the Death Star. That's impressive. This is impressive. This is absolutely gorgeous positioning. And the Grille is one mean sniper, one mean tank destroyer with a 150mm gun. Okay, I don't know how that shot missed, but it missed anyways. Hiccups do happen. But look at this. The E75 is pushing rashly. He's pushing very rashly. Not just the E75, almost every tank, enemy tank is pushing very rashly. They don't know where our tank destroyers are. And if they do not know where our tank destroyers are, they do not know how and when they will be punched by a 150mm gun. Now that FV4-202 also took a brunt. And Toto actually took a blind shot with 90%. No, actually it's a 100% chance. It should have at least hit. If it did not did damage, I don't know about that. We'll see later if it actually did. Look, the chieftain popped out its face. He's going to take a brunt of it. Precision shot. So far, so good. 800 supremacy points, 4 enemy tanks destroyed, and Toto has not switched up his position yet and has already racked up 4k damage. That's called sniper, and a sniper is an opportunistic tank. Like, again, the chieftain gave him an opportunity because he is well positioned, he has good line of sight at the enemy tanks. And a good position and with good line of sight, that's what a tank destroyer needs. Another opportunity. Though this game was won through supremacy point, but still, good position. He did not need to even move from his position at all. Oh, it's 6k damage. That means that FP got the blind shot. 6k damage, did not even need to change his position. Why? Because he utilized his tank as a sniper. 6k damage, and the closest to him was the T-57 with only 1600 damage. That's a whopping huge margin. That's a really huge margin. All because of superb positioning with the tank destroyer. A tank destroyer is not supposed to push. He is not supposed to push. Yes, there are times when a tank destroyer can push, but it is not recommended to push with a tank destroyer unless until you have a Jack Panzer or a Doom Turtle. But even in those case scenarios, it is not always optimum to push first. First is always let the heavy tanks go, look at the situation, and then push. Otherwise, in most case scenarios, a tank destroyer is supposed to stay concealed, well hidden, but have good visual line of sight of the enemy tanks in order to provide good covering fire, whilst the heavy tanks hold the line in order for them to notch, and the medium tanks to hold the line in order to keep the tank destroyers unspotted. So that's it for today's video, folks, and if you liked the video, please do leave a like and comment down in the section below, and also subscribe to my channel for more weekly content so that you wouldn't miss out. And if you want to see more content from me, either regarding Apex Legends, Halo, Titanfall, etc., be sure to check out my Instagram. I'll leave the link down in the description below. And once again, peace out.